So welcome everyone to the interim call for the Hill of Towie Power Prediction Challenge. As I said in the meeting invite, this is simply a space for people to ask questions and share work. I don't have any sort of presentation to give, and hopefully everybody has familiarized themselves with the challenge already on Kaggle. No fixed agenda. I'm just really pleased that there's interest in this challenge. So I might ask just to start with if maybe you could put your hand up if you'd like to share some work, and then I can get a sense of how many people would like to share screen and present, and then we can figure out how much time per person and things like that. Connor, thank you. Right, we have 2 so far. Awesome. Don't be shy. Okay, 2 so far. Who would like to go first?
I'm in second, so I could go first, and then Amidradzik can show how he beat me.
Go on, Connor, over to you. Thank you for volunteering. But maybe go ahead and introduce yourself, because I know there's a few people on the call, so yeah, feel free to give an intro.
Hi, I'm Connor Malone. I actually have an intro in my slides, so if you just give me a second. Can you see a PowerPoint there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just going to presentation mode. So yeah, I'm going to present my paper. It's currently second, 45.9 mean absolute error compared to the whole of GeorgiaTech. I am Connor Malone. I'm a data scientist. I was formerly with SkySpecs, which is a company that provides a range of O&M services to operating wind farms. I was on the drone inspection side, but they do work with SCADA and CMS. So I have some experience with SCADA, none in an machine learning context. And in terms of Kaggle competitions, this is only my second competition. I finished in the 1400s in an American football contest 5 years ago. I'm also looking for work, so hire me, tell your friends, and I will keep going then. So I would go through the features that I used to get second place. I sort of picked them from everywhere. I'll explain where different things came from. So I had some trigonometric features, which came from Dimitrios, who has the third place notebook at the moment. So he used some features around taking the sine and cosine of the yaw and the sail position, wind speed, and then turbulence, which I think is probably the most important one, which is standard deviation over the mean wind speed. And then I have some day features, which I think came from the Kelmarsh competition, which was the previous Kaggle wind competition. So I have a binary features, a 1 if it's daylight hours, 0 otherwise, and 1 if it's peak wind season, and then sine cosine of various features around time of year. And then I use lag features. So I use an OR package called DLNM to look at the interaction between a response variable and different variables at different lags back in time. So you can see here this is actual power for T2, but they're all fairly similar. So you can see the response is best between about 3 and 6 lags, so sort of 30 to 60 minutes back in time. So I did this for actual power and actual wind speed for T2, 3, 4, and 7. So you can see the map of the farm here, 2, 3, 4, and 7. This is the one we're trying to predict. For some reason, T5 isn't that responsive or isn't that important. And I also use isValid, which was suggested by a Res Group notebook. They used it in their paper. So then I just talk about what didn't work. So this was a comment I had on the Kaggle discussion forum, things I tried that didn't work. So I tried calculating the Jensen wake effect. I had the Latelon of each turbine from a different data set, and I tried that, didn't get anything. I tried training a model on different pairs. So if T7 was waking T4, I would have those as a separate row in the data set to try and see if it could pick up the wake effect with a lot more data for every turbine that was waking. It didn't work. I tried dropping turbines that weren't waking. So if the wind was coming from the northwest, I would drop everything except T3, 1, and 2 and have a variable indicating T3 was waking and T2 was being waked. And I also tried just including the directions as a variable, and nothing, it always made the result worse. But I do think there is something there. There must be. And then I ran it on AutoGluon. So this came from Johnny Hyland's notebook. He used AutoGluon ML. It's an Amazon machine learning tool. It basically, for as much time as you let it run, it will try a load of different machine learning models. It tries CatBoost and XGBoost, and it runs it from. So I ran it on a fairly good computer with a GPU for 12 hours, and it got these results. So I tried it on different time frames, and the longer the better, basically. But there's diminishing returns after 12 hours. But just this code is what gets the results. Like, I didn't change my notebook a huge amount from using just XGBoost, but using AutoGluon made a huge improvement. And then just so this is just a summary of what I did, what other people could do. So I looked at previous competitions. I looked at other people's notebooks. So I got the trig from Demetrius, Isvalid from Rez, AutoGluon from Johnny Hyland, and then just a lot of trial and error. So I have 72 entries. Amadreza has 72 entries as well. So just try a lot of things and see what sticks. And that's all I have.
Good. Perfect. Sorry, I have a question. How did you, how is the calculation of turbulence? Is it standard deviation? You know, in the second slide, I think. Or
Yeah,
something.
so it's
yes, turbulence is wind speed. Okay, wind speed standard deviation of the wind speed. No, the spread.
Yep.
Divided by the wind speed mean. Oh, okay, yes. I get the point. Perfect. Yeah, because I'm doing something like that. Oh, very interesting.
Cool. Any other questions?
Well, I guess as a question as the organizer, do you have any questions, Connor? Is anything unclear? Did you find the competition easy to participate in?
Yeah, it's very easy to get into. It's great that you can just submit an answer set. You don't have to submit it via notebook, so I can run everything locally and then upload it when I need to. I think there's a great discussion forum. People are publishing their work. It's a great way to learn different techniques.
Yeah, for sure. You've put some code up, haven't you, Connor?
Yeah, and I'm going to do another one at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to drop it in the chat. I mean, hopefully everybody can use the chat. I've just quickly dropped the Kaggle link in there. Thank you for publishing your code. That's really appreciated.
Did you get any feature importance?
I didn't. It's in my notebook, I think, if you see. I think it's mainly the actual wind speed.
Yeah, of course. They robbed all the attention.
Yeah.
But but because I was wondering if these cosine transformations of minutes and hours, I was wondering if that was something really relevant. I don't know.
It wouldn't be terribly relevant, no. But as I said, it's sort of trial and error thing, and
at the end, you squeeze a little bit of signal from those. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So like even I had tried it previously and it didn't add anything, but for some reason this combination of variables has worked.
Thanks, Connor, for the presentation. Could you share some details or give some explanations on the filters you've used? Any filtering you've considered for proper operational data or?
No, I filtered out data that didn't have a target, like where there was no production data for turbine 1, but that's all I left out.
Okay.
Awesome. And we can circle back to questions for Connor, but should we, who would like to speak next? Share next.
May I speak next?
Yes. Yeah, please feel free to give an intro to you and your team as well.
Sure. Let me first make sure my slides are kind of okay. Yeah, my name is Ahmad. Chopachian. I'm from Georgia Tech, the team of Dr. Yu Ding. And I first want to thank Mr. Clark because of this interesting challenge. And also, I wanted to thank our team in Georgia Tech because uh, I was the one who was doing this kind of submissions and really trying uh, the thing with Kaggle, but I had feedbacks from the team almost on a weekly basis to see if there are some other ideas and so on, so I can implement. I was not sure of how long time I have. That's why I only have an overview of the things I have tried, and I will touch very briefly on each one. On the modeling side, I also tried the AutoGloon and AutoML. Thanks for the folks who shared the scripts and the Kaggle. I actually give the scripts a trial, but I also had my own feed-forward neural network model, which I shared a very initial version on the Kaggle, but then I realized I can further improve that. More than that, I tried fast Gaussian processes. There are kind of two packages with two kind of methods we develop. Unfortunately, based on our previous experience, when we have the speed, temperature, direction probably for the test data, test turbine, GPs usually did a great job. But on this problem, which we really don't have the real data for testings, GP were not as good as the other three models. Error was kind of larger than 50. But for other three, AutoML, AutoGloon, and ANN, they are pretty competitive based on my experience. They are kind of somewhere from 47 to 48. And I tried all of them. And the other things I have given a try was really so one thing I think the Res Group's scripts did was recovering wind speed for turbine one using the AutoML. I tried the same thing for temperature and wind direction, but for temperature, it's quite easy. So with the very simple models, we can really have a good approximation of the temperature for turbine one. But for direction, it's kind of challenging. So for example, I needed to change the loss to have that constraint of sine 2 plus cosine 2 equal to 1. So that was the really several trials for wind direction to have kind of good estimation of the real direction for turbine one. And then there was other things we tried. This sample weighting, which can be tried for both AutoML and ANN models. So AutoML has feature that you can give the sample weights for your training data. We tried different kind of weightings. One was kernel mean matching. The aim is to give the weights to the training data such that their distribution is more closely aligned to the test data. So that way, if there is a shift from 2016 to 19 from the training data to 2020, these weights may account for these shifts. And then the other thing we tried was regional weighting. So we changed the weights for samples before cutting the speed or after the rated speed or the middle part of the power curve, and really try different combinations to see if kind of regional weighting gonna make the accuracy of models more improved or not. So this one has really tiny improvement. It was not that great. And finally, my submissions, the most leading submissions, I mean, probably the ones below 47, are kind of the result of an ensemble model. So all these trials, I have all of them, and then I'm trying different kind of averaging strategies or weighted average to see what combination can lead to the lowest test error. That's all. Thank you. If any questions.
I can ask
yeah,
a question,
yeah,
Ahmed. Oh,
I have a,
oh,
I
you
have
go
a
ahead, Jorge.
question. Yeah, I have a question. This weighting regional
Yeah.
average, no? That I mean, it's like what a decision tree does of just
No.
sectioning or trying to divide the feature space.
Yeah, that's basically the idea. So our observation was that this XGBoost AutoML is doing a perfect shape in the middle region of the power curve from cut-in to
Okay.
rated
Okay.
speed, but it's not that great on the side regions. So
Okay.
first we tried from building one model per region, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we realized that's challenging because
Yeah.
on unknown test data, we don't know really which model's prediction is the one belongs to that one. So finally we decided to keep the one model setup, but give different weights. So for
Yeah.
example, if you increase the weight for region 3, I mean the one speed is larger than the rated, model tries to learn patterns over there more. Or if you give higher weight to the region 1, lower than cutting, model tries to focus on that region more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but really, as I said, the improvement was quite marginal. Maybe
Yeah.
point. I mean, from if the base AutoML model is getting 47.8, it just lowers it to 47.6, 65, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. No, okay. No, I just was trying to figuring out the process of this. It's like a manual process of
Yeah.
of segmenting your future space, and
I think there should
something.
be some smarter ways to apply these sample weights, which we are still
Yeah.
exploring. But
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there is a way to optimize
yeah,
the
that's
segmentation. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Really impressive, very interesting. I had a couple of questions. One was, did you use purely the data that's available in the Kaggle competition? And I guess it's really same question for Connor. Did you go outside the Kaggle competition to source other data to help? Or
The data is the same Kaggle data, but I for some of my models I use the pre-processing in ResGroup script. So that AutoML script does have some kind of pre-processing for Windows specialists. I don't get many of those proper pre-processing, but for some of my models I use them. But
is that
the data,
David's code or which one?
yeah, let me pull it up. I can.
No, David Bassani, I see you're on the call. You did some nice wind speed modeling in your code, right?
Yes. Yeah, I went with try and model the wind speed and then just throw that engineered wind speed in as a feature. But
Yeah,
that was like,
it's actually that script
yeah,
that I used for pre-processing. Thank you for that great
yeah, of course.
code.
Yeah, I haven't actually touched it for about 3 months now, but maybe I'll get back to it.
Oh yeah, life gets in the way of doing such things. Another question I had for you, Ahmed, was just interested to know if your group is doing other research that this competition relates to. Just interested in the context, because it's really impressive the effort you've put in, and yeah, just curious how it relates to your normal work.
Yeah, I actually have a question on from you about the design of talent. So all the time, what we did was when we assumed that when we are gonna predict the power curve for the future of the turbine, we assumed we'd have those environmental features. In this competition, I think in the realistic situation, we don't have it. It's right, but we don't have it for all the turbines. But in your case, we have it for turbine 2, 3, 4, 7, I think, but we don't have it on only for turbine 1. So that's really kind of exciting for us to see what's the application of this kind of models, because our own research mostly focuses only on the we have very strong actually power curve models. For example, if we had those speed, temperature, etc., we could stand somewhere around 33 RMSE on this competition, because on 2019 data, I have the data for turbine 1. I tried our own methods. We gained 33 with one Gaussian process model, 35 with another Gaussian process model on 2019 testing. But on 2020, we really don't have those covariates. I'm still a little bit confused why we don't have them, or if we not gonna use the future data, why we have the future data for other turbines?
Yeah, certainly. So I've quickly penned a thing I've put in the chat to explain my motivation. Can open it up and do a quick screen share. So yeah, there's some colleagues on the call who are involved in this. I see Mulia's on the call from Power Curve as well. You do this sort of work. The goal is to be able to measure. Well, a problem we have at work is measurement of energy change. Well, hopefully energy increase after we've changed a wind turbine. So I put this repo in the chat. This is also using the Hill of Towie data. Yeah, sorry for the zoom level. I'm not on my normal screen. Like, this is a measurement from a campaign where we put some blade upgrades on one turbine, T13, and we want to measure the energy improvement that those blade upgrades created. So you have a measurement of 4.3% improvement and a confidence interval. In this case, that was an easy measurement because it was a really big improvement. There's another example here where this is like a controller tuning. So it was a smaller improvement, and you can see the uncertainty bar is getting rather close to 0. So the size of, well, we want these numbers to be accurate, and we want the size of this uncertainty bar to be as small as possible in as short a time as possible to make commercial upgrades of turbines viable. So my hope is that the techniques that are on show in this competition can be brought to bear on that problem. So if you imagine in this competition, if T1 had been upgraded at the start of the validation period, if you predict the power that T1 should have made with no upgrade, which is exactly what you're doing now,
I see.
then you can take its real power from that validation period, sum it up, divide one by the other, and voila, you have an uplift measurement. So, measuring the power after the upgrade is really easy, but figuring out the counterfactual, like what would the power have been if it hadn't been upgraded, is really difficult, and that's what this composition can help with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get the idea now. Thank you so much.
Demetrius, you have your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, hello everybody. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. I'm on the car actually driving, so I will try to talk loudly and clear. So thanks first of all for organizing this. It's great. Very short intro from my side. So also working in the renewables data space for several years now. First in research, solar forecasting. Then I was working in WinZi, where I also met Sarah, and we did also the WinZi challenge, which is also on We Do Wind. So I was responsible for that one, and now happy to be part of that. On my solution, so you heard some features that I used. I tried to, like, the scoring solution I have is of course also with tree-based models and AutoGluon, like AutoML. I also added some code which is more ambitious, let's say, trying to use graph neural networks and some other fancy stuff, but in the end, you cannot beat tabular data methods for these kind of resolutions, right? There's no dynamic elements, and yeah, I mean, these scores are to be expected from just the tree-based methods. But for your motivation, actually, that's what I wanted to discuss, because I had a lot of experience with these methods, right? We're also validating OEM upgrades for Vestas, Nordex, you name it, right? And the discussion was always tough with the OEM itself. Like, you have to convince the OEM you're doing something better. The owner usually is happy if you give them energy, but then it's very tough to validate. So I'm really wondering how these discussions are going for you with the actual producers of the turbines, if they're still in warranty, right?
Oh yeah, really good question. Yeah, I'd be happy to chat more about that offline. I mean, Res provides upgrades, so we measure our own upgrades. We also measure upgrades from OEM. So yeah, very happy to have more of a chat about that, Demetrios. It's a really interesting space because there's lots of ways to tackle the problem. Like, some people do power versus power correlations. Some people just toggle the test turbine if it's a software one and compare on versus off in a time series way. Some people, like Res, try to estimate the wind speed and do like an IEC power curve thing. It's really interesting. Lots of ways to do it. Unfortunately, because there's lots of ways to do it, there's lots of disagreements. So yeah, hopefully as an industry, we can figure out through exercises like this what is the best way. And
that's my experience too, right? Actually, we were using all the ways and trying to find a common ground. But as you said, everything has its advantages and disadvantages, especially if your upgrade is messing up with the wind measurement, it's not comparable with the past, you know, and all of these things. But yeah, happy to talk more.
Are there any more questions for Ahmed before we open the floor again? No, anything else you'd like to share? Thank you very much for presenting. Jorge, did you have your hand up to present, or did anyone else want to present?
No,
next?
I just have questions about the process. Okay, because
yes, please,
when we start doing all our EDA, etc., all the proceeding. Okay, I think we realized that this is a very sort of recursive or meta prediction, because when you have missing values of power, you need some sort of predictive method to fill the missing values. Okay, before starting to do the prediction. Of course, there is enough training data, but the test set, there are some missing values there. I saw that you flagged some with not is valid, false. Okay, yes, there is a full gap of predictors there, of features. Okay, there was some sort of blackout of the sensors, and you are not taking that into account for the final error estimation. Cool. But on the other hand, there are some rows, no, where they may be valid. Okay, and we have to come up with some predictive method. No? So machine learning for doing machine learning. You know, all the filling. And I don't know if someone have a commentary, because I spent a lot of time trying to fill this the most thought of way. I mean, I think I could do a guide on how to fill these missing values. For instance, I did some regressions to predict the standard deviations. Okay. Where they were missing, okay? Then for some rows, okay, I had the mean and the standard deviation. I did some Monte Carlo simulation of many samples to choose the mean to fill mean and max. Okay, that's an example. Okay, and for other missing values of power, I did the typical regression of the other turbine. Okay, but look how I'm choosing methods. Okay. In order to complete my test set, and how that's going to affect the end of our results. Okay, this previous procedure. You know, and that, I mean, this discussion, I think it's very, very, I mean, I think it's very interesting. If someone, I mean, are you doing typical? How are you feeling these gaps in the test set? Other thing that took my attention is that, okay, the more predictor we use, we want to use everything. The more dependent, okay, the more unpractical is for because it's probably, I mean, the more turbines we gather, I mean, this is a small, well, this is a rather small wind farm, but imagine a wind farm of 100 turbines, okay, or offshore wind farm. You are going to have a lot of gaps there because of maintenance of the turbines, okay? There are a lot of stops. So I am trying, if you see, I am in the last position in the competition because I am trying very, very simple methods, okay? First, I didn't want to spend a lot of time with this hyperparameter optimization, so I tried some splines, no, very non-parametric things, and some regressions with the average, only with the average of the sister turbines, no, with similar behavior. Okay, I did some clustering to see which turbines I see, etc. But this conversation about filling missing values and the number of features that we want to have, I think it's very important because somehow I think that the final objective of all this effort is to come up with some of methodology, or is if it's possible, or is it possible? That's another question. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my reflection.
Yeah, that definitely resonates with me, coming up with a methodology. But yeah, great point. Does anyone want to speak on how they handled missing values?
Missing values, yes. For instance,
I suppose
I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I can say, I
Maybe-
mean, I'm not really competing in this seriously because I'm the admin, but
yeah.
I usually just, when I first attempt to do stuff, I just use sklearn's his gradient boosting regressor, which actually the doc says it has native support for missing values. In other words, you don't need to fill the missing values, which is rather convenient. I know older machine learning models require you to impute first, but some newer ones don't. You don't have to do anything. But Demetrius, you were going to speak?
Yeah, same thing, right? It depends on your choice of models. So many tree-based models, all the famous ones, they can handle missing values and you can just even remove them. The problem starts when you need to do actual time series modeling, right? So when you need to have the current models, when you need to have the state from previous timestamps, then it gets tricky. And then actually in the notebook I have uploaded, you will see that I am handling such situations, and that actually hurts the performance because you have to train on imputed values, right? Well, the moment you go on recurrent networks, you have to start imputing, or you're starting missing, a lot of data. But for tree-based models, you shouldn't be worried about it, right? Because again, you're handling everything as a tabular data, as a independent on time data, right? So
yeah, I know. But for the final test, for the final submission, you need to fill. I mean, the test set has some missing values, okay, and I think that's very. I mean, that can influence the prediction a lot, because if I put a crazy number there, 1 million something, I mean, I'm going to have a point very, very out of the. I mean, no matter what you are going to be like out of the generalization, so to speak, because you are violating the physics of the process. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you are violating the correlation between wind speed, cubic wind speed and power, and all the physics stuff. So that's why my comment on the test set, basically on the test set. That all the relationships, I think, have to be maintained. Yeah, but okay. Yeah.
Missing data is always hard. There's never a good answer. I don't know if anyone else wants to share what they've done, or how they think about missing data, because SCADA data is like that. SCADA data is very imperfect. Yes. So
yeah, I tried a few different things. some of them worked, some of them didn't. I spent a while coming up with like a really simple. Well, no, I tried a few things. One of those was just to find the mean of like, especially for active power. It was to find the mean of the turbines that were actually on in terms of the active power that they had. Like that was relatively fine, but it wasn't actually getting as good a result in the end of the day. So I've just been looking on my other screen to remind myself what I did. I tried just filling them in as actual zeros or even as minus values, just so that they were so significantly different from the rest of the data set that the model might effectively learn to disregard them. Yeah, again, mixed experience with those. Did some forward filling and backward filling. It kind of depends exactly what feature it is you're looking at as to what makes most sense some of the time.
Yeah.
For example, you can't just set a 0 on like an angular bit of data because that's a real result. It's like a real 0 rather than a null value, I suppose. I think in the end, the current model I have working, it's using like basically the skew of the data to decide what's most effective out of like mean or median imputation. That being said, I'm also using CatBoost, and I can't remember off the top of my head whether my best model uses that or actually just runs with the null values, because CatBoost can also do that can also handle those without any kind of difficulty. But yeah, so the answer is I tried lots of different things.
Okay, but I think we have to be clear that for filling these values, we cannot have the whole set together. No, I mean training and test, they have to be splitted. I mean you cannot fill tests. I mean you have to fill the gaps on the test set apart, because in an ideal situation you don't have this.
Yeah, you work out your imputation
data leakage,
based on
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you work out your imputation based on your training data, and then you apply that same pipeline to your test data once it's already decided.
Exactly. Apart. Exactly. That's what I'm proceeding. And the other thing, Alex, is the question that I wrote, not to forget, is about you clip negative values. Okay, when the turbines are idle, okay, they are just consuming the auxiliary service. And we had negative power readings. Okay, and I understand that you clipped this to 0 on wind turbine 1 on the target. Okay, now when we clipped to 0, okay, just before the cut-in, okay, we are eliminating, or we are the variance is disappearing there. Okay, so practically any method that we use, doesn't matter if it's some simple one or a very, very complex one, it's not going to find variance there where you clipped to 0. Okay, so in the end, for every method, you can just put a rule like, okay, if wind speed is less than, let's say, 1.5 meter per second, then no matter what method you use, you are going to have 0 power. Okay, I mean it's like a decision rule there, because you clip the target. Okay, so I'm making sure at the end of every method, okay, you are sure that these turbines are not going to generate before some wind speed, and you can plot that. You can plot that, and you can see that less than 1.5, you are not getting power, but you are not getting 0.1, 0.5. You are eliminating the variance, so you are eliminating information in that section. Okay, and any method is always is very. I mean, there is a little bit of variance, no, and flexibility, and it's going to try to go. It's going to try to vary to fit. Okay, but in the end, we would have to apply a decision rule there, because you clip the target. So I was wondering if that would be the best practice, or you're simply to left these negative fluctuating values before the cut in to get a better fit, maybe, because all the methods expect variance before cut in. Wind speed.
Yeah, I can explain the thought process of that. So sure. Typically the wind farms that I work on have a different rate for export energy and import energy. Like they get paid like you might get paid in the UK £100 per megawatt hour export, but the rate you're charged for import isn't definitely not £100 per megawatt hour. It's like whatever, £20 per megawatt hour or something. So when you deal with meter data, you usually split export from import.
Okay.
The information that you get at the turbine doesn't map to that 1-to-1. So clipping the turbine's mean power to a lower bound of 0 is sort of a nod to the fact that we care about export and we don't care about import in this analysis. It's definitely not perfect, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess what I was trying to do is avoid the competition is judged on MAE, so I was trying to avoid MAE. I was trying to avoid just people, I suppose, getting distracted by trying to predict -10 kilowatts versus -50 kilowatts, because the turbines, the amount of power the turbine draws isn't so related to the wind anymore or what other turbines are doing. So it's an interesting side mission. Like it might be interesting to try to predict how much a turbine imports, when does it do it, and why, but it's not strongly related to the real world application I have in mind, which is more about export energy. So definitely open to feedback on how, like a future competition could handle this better.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
My approach would be to leave these negative values. I think these scores are going to get better. Okay, and then in the end, with the just clipped all the predicted negative values. No, just but after the prediction, because in this setting, I think we would have to clip anyway. I mean, to put a hard rule there, a decision rule there, that okay, no, everything. If you every negative value that your prediction has, okay, put it to 0, because you know that the target is clipped. Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good idea to do that in your code. Like you can just send it through NumPy's clip right before you write your submission CSV, for example. So yeah. Thank you for the discussion on that. We're getting close to time. I was planning to end the call at 25 past. We're at 19 now. Would anyone else like to share their work or ask any questions?
Hi, I just have a question. So maybe if somebody else wants to share, I'll wait.
No, go for it. Thanks, Robert.
Yes, hi. I just joined this effort last week, so this is my first call and I haven't really done anything. I'd like to do what's very interesting what you present. My background is not so much on machine learning. It's more on this wake model side. I was working at the university before, and I would like to do try to do a wake model calibration on this. So I was thinking, is there information about the turbine, like the power curve or in the thrust curve, or is that sort of not part of the training data set?
So it's not in the Kaggle, but there's more information on the Zenodo, which the Kaggle data is like a very small subset of what's on Zenodo.
Yeah.
So take a look at that first, and if you still have more questions, I'm happy to share more information. I do Florus modeling of Filiptawi, so I have like all of the Florus YAML files. If that makes it easier.
Yeah, I got one from WinPro now, but maybe if you have the specific one, that would make it a bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very popular turbine model, so.
Okay, then
probably you'll have it, but yeah, if you're stuck, hopefully how you can contact me.
Okay, yeah, that's already, because I think Connor, you said you were doing something with wake modeling, so I was asking myself if you use a CT curve, and that what you said with the Jensen, I didn't completely get it because it was just not part of the challenge yet, but yeah, very interesting.
And I think, Drew, you started a thread on feature engineering, which I thought was really cool. Like, Sometimes these competitions are a little unsatisfying because you can just throw auto glue on at it and it's the best, and there's no sort of reward for knowing about the science or the physics. And in hindsight, I could have chosen a turbine which is more inside the wind farm. So T1 has a clear view of the southwest, which is where more than 50% of the wind is coming from. So from a physics point of view, that does make it less interesting. But there is data where T1 is waked. So my gut feeling is that there must be value in adding more physics into this. I intend to do some work on that myself when I get a little time.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I think this method that I've been working on is better for if there are a lot of wake effects. So I'm thinking probably the machine, the black box model, will be a lot better. We compared our method before to black box models, and one thing we saw, it was better when the farm was at saturation, because the neural networks tended to not like to predict rated conditions so much, whereas in Flores it's just a function. Is that did you see that behavior here already as well, or?
Well, I guess that reminds me of what Ahmad was saying about his solution, perhaps. And it reminds me of another question I had for everyone. Does anybody use monotonic constraints in their modeling? Because it seems a lot of sklearn models have a monotonic constraint options that seem to me like they'd be useful, but I haven't tried it yet. No worries. Any other questions or thoughts? Otherwise,
I'll just mention one thing that's not
Yep.
come up that I found to be pretty relevant at Hill of Towie, which is blade icing. So if you plot the power curve of all of the data, you'll notice a big clump of data in the winter where the turbine is operating well outside what you'd expect, and that's because there's ice on the blade. And I think there's no blade heating system at Hill of Towie, which is why it's especially bad. So yeah, I came up with a super noddy feature for is icing likely or not, and that ended up being fairly important in the final model. So just a thought for folks, if you want to consider icing, I'd recommend. I found that to be fairly relevant for those cold days.
A cool idea.
Nice, Sam. On that note, if there's anything else, unless there's anything else, I think I'll end the call now, give you a chance to get a cup of tea. Really appreciate everybody who shared, and yeah, I'm really excited to see the rest of the competition. It closes in mid-November, and there's a closing call in the diary. I could do a quick show of hands if we tried to do another interim call, just as a show of hands. Would that be of interest? If not, that's fine. We can we have the closing call in December. So I guess put your hand up if you would come to another interim call if we did it. Nice. Okay, I'll send. That's enough for a call. I'll send another survey out for timings. So thank you very much, everyone.
I'll come if I've managed to do something by then.
Oh, come either way. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate your participation, and have a nice rest of your week. Bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks very
Thank you
much.
for your time,
Thank you.
Alex.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.